Welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 322 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jaylen Hunter. And here at the Unpopular Podcast, I'm not really asking you to agree with me. I'm asking you to hear me out. As we get closer and closer to the national championship, clarity is starting to, you're starting to get clear about who belongs and who doesn't. And the teams that are now in the tournament, you know, once you're in the Elite Eight and the Final Four and stuff, the margin of error and the difference between, or the margin of talent usually is close. Like you may get a blowout or two, but you don't get a lot of blowouts. You usually get the best games of the year. You usually get incredible finishes because the talent on the teams that are remaining are usually similar, or there's not a drastic difference. Now, we'll talk about one that possibly was, but there's not really a drastic difference as far as talent on the teams. So when you look at some of these teams and you look at some of these outcomes, things have to stick out. There may be a player that has to go above and beyond. There may be, just a moment in which one team prevails over the other, meaning it was just a moment that sealed the game. You're not going to get a lot of talent discrepancies. Now, yes, you can look at it and say, well, one is a 6 seed, one is an 11, one is a 7, one is a 3, but that doesn't really mean anything once you get closer to the national championship, because you've already played a battle-tested team. You've already played really good opponents. So at this point, you're playing the best of the best. And where we'll start is, of course, the Kansas State and Michigan State game that we saw, 2 days ago. First and foremost, I hate shouting out Michigan State because I know Michigan State fans, but that was one of the best games I've seen in a while from start to finish. And I don't mean that as far as, the ups and downs of the game or a game winner, which we'll talk about in a second. That was probably one of the best and most well-played games I've seen from both teams in a while, especially in college. Now, of course, you get some overtimes, you get some that, but Michigan State and Kansas State played their best. They waited to play their best basketball for this game. Now, yes, I think Kansas State can go on and play good as well, but each team had a game plan, and each team did what they were supposed to do. And it's just so happened that, of course, Kansas State had the deciding factor. Like, think about this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 players in Michigan State had double digits. 4 players. And A.J. Hogan had, I think he had, 23? 25, I'm sorry. But the difference in this game, of course, was the 5'8", 160-pound point guard from Harlem, Marcus Noel. Coming into this game, he's already been electrifying. He's already, I'm not going to say take the nation's heart or whatever, but he's been great. And while no, he didn't score the most points, he did something that nobody has ever done. He broke a record. He had 19 assists in a game, which, while it's not the record for an NCAA game in general, it's the record for an NCAA tournament game. He had a 2019 game. Now, you got to think about this. The dude is 5'8". You're going against guards these days are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". Hell, you can even go up to 6'7". And you have a 5'8" dude in Marcus Noel having 20 points and 19 rebounds. And of course, we know about the incredible alley-oop he threw to Keontae Johnson, who, by the way, it's not talked about enough, the Keontae Johnson story. Now, of course, we know, he is the player that collapsed when he was at Florida, and I think it was a heart problem, and there was real belief that he would never play again. He was able to rehab and get himself back to 100%, and of course he transferred from Florida to K-State, and now he in the regular season he averaged 18 points a game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. He is an NBA quality player, and he led the Wildcats in scoring in the Sweet 16, but again, this is more about that was a great game all around. Of course, it went into overtime, and that's when, of course, K-State kind of took over in the late minutes of the game. But this is one of the first times. Okay, K-State 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had 6 players score over double digits. Shouts out to Michigan State, man. Shouts out to K-State. They both played a hell of a game, and that was probably the best game. Maybe not the best ending, but the best game that we saw, at least so far. Now, as I'm recording this, of course, you have the second day of the Sweet 16. You have Alabama playing San Diego State, Miami playing Houston, Xavier playing Texas. So I'll be able to give you an update of how that goes next time, because of course it's not happening yet. But the games that we did see, it was incredible. And let's go to the next game. And this was the best finish of, I guess, the first day of the Sweet 16. There's always fireworks when it comes to Gonzaga going against UCLA. We know about the Jalen Suggs 3-point shot that won them the game. It's always a battle between the two, and I don't. I can honestly say I think this was a roller coaster ride of a game, obviously, and. If I'm Gonzaga, I'm happy, and we got with the win. Our best player, Drew Timme, had 36 points, which was the most by a Gonzaga player in the tournament. But if I'm UCLA, bro, I am sick. Think about this. Going into halftime, you were up 13 points, 46-33. Your best player was going crazy. I think you went into halftime with only 1 assist or 1 turnover. Everything, momentum and everything. And this momentum and everything was on the Gonzaga side. Was on UCLA side. And this is why I said this game, the Gonzaga UCLA game, was the perfect example. You saw firsthand the benefit of momentum. And you saw firsthand what it's like to have momentum, to lose momentum, and to gain momentum. You see, first half, UCLA had all the momentum, all of it. Jamie, he finished the game with 29 points, but the UCLA had all the momentum, and I thought it was about to be a blowout. Again, you were up 13 points at halftime, and well, of course, that Gonzaga can come back. UCLA was firing on all cylinders, and they weren't turning over the ball. So it's just they had all the momentum. And then coming out of the break, and I think Gonzaga goes on a 10-2 run, and you see slowly but surely UCLA takes bad shots. UCLA takes and basketball. Here's something. I'll tell you something about basketball if you do or do not know. I'll tell you the mind. I'm gonna tell you the mindset of a player that has momentum, that's losing momentum, and that doesn't have momentum anymore. So when you have momentum, you feel like anything you put up is good. You feel like, your team's rolling. You're probably hitting a couple shots. The rim feels like it's an ocean. Like anything you throw up, you're making. That is how good being in the momentum, because it's like you have the crowd on your side. You have the lead. It feels like everyone on your team is hitting. Everyone on your team is going crazy. That's what momentum feels like. And then you start to see UCLA lose momentum. And as a player, you're thinking to yourself, at first you're thinking, oh, we're good. We're good. They're on a little run. We still got the lead. We're good. But then you realize, wait, we're not hitting. This is our fourth trip, and we haven't hit. Hold on now. Wait a second. All right. So now you're starting to get a little tight. You're starting to think to yourself, oh shoot, I cannot lose this. Like we're good, but it's something. Whoa now. Then you lose momentum. Once you lose momentum, it is a wrap. It's over with. You think to yourself, oh shoot, like my chest, like, oh damn, like now everything you shoot, you're hoping you're going to make, because it's like everything you shoot, you're thinking, yo, I got, it has to hit. So it's tough, man. It is tough. And let me speak on Gonzaga's side. What Gonzaga did, you have to give credit to, because again, you're down 13. Well, yeah, you have another half. A lot of people can turn it in. Especially, you had a starter. I mean, you had a starter that didn't score. So it's like it could just be like, hey, it's just not my day. But Drew Timme, and here's the thing, man. This is why experience matters, and this is why, being an upperclassman matters, because I feel like I know Drew Timme was the best player on that floor. Nobody can guard Drew Timme, and it opened the door for Julian Strawther to hit the game winner. Which, by the way, if you think that I didn't notice that is the same exact play that Villanova beat North Carolina on in the national championship, it was a tough one. But that was probably the best finish. But that game was the embodiment of a team that has momentum, losing momentum, and lost it. And that was UCLA. UCLA, they were juggernauts in the first half, and then Gonzaga just said, you know what, no, it's time to turn up. And then they did. It's funny, man. And I'll be real with you. I have a really hard time rooting for Gonzaga. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem if they win or not, but I just have a hard time rooting for Gonzaga. It just feels like, sometimes it feels like I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it, so I'm just not going to. I don't know. But shouts out to Gonzaga for beating UCLA 79-76. Again, Julian Strawther. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about. The game winner. Yo, he pulled from damn near the logo. But what you have to understand is Julian Strawther is a three-point shooter. And while he wasn't just lighting it up from deep the entire game, you have to be aware of moments like that. I understand where you are, but I also understand where the game is today. And what I mean by is this. I understand you thinking about going under the screen if you're a defender, because you're thinking, well, he's pretty much at half court. He's not going to make that. Yeah, you got to realize, though, he is their best three-point shooter. If he pulls, the game is over. And if he pulls and makes it, the game is over. So I don't care where he is, unless it's like under the other basket. If he is about to, you do not go under the screen. And that's for anyone. It was a great screen, don't get me wrong. It was a great pass. But you never go under the screen. Never go under the screen. Now, I'm not saying you just lunge at a player, because that was just, no. But do not go on the screen. I understand that was far. It was a far, and Julian Strawther was having a bad game. He finished 5 for 15, 3 for 8 from three, 3 for 5 for free throw from the free throw. But he finished with a double double, and of course he hit the shot of all shots. Now, again, shouts out to UCLA. They played incredible. Jaquez Jr., he had 29 points and 11 rebounds. Amiri Bailey, he had 19 points and he hit a 3-point. It felt eerily similar to the North Carolina 2016 game. Marcus Page hits a big shot and you think they won, or you think that they won the game or tied the game up. Bailey hit the 3-point shot. They tie the game. Oh no, they go up 1, and then of course, boom. Yeah, man, it was a good one. It was a good one. I will tell you that. The next game I want to talk about is the Florida Atlantic beating number 4 Tennessee 62-55. Let me first get my congratulations out the way. Shouts out to Florida Atlantic. First and foremost, I am shocked that they're still here. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that they deserve to be here. They are playing their best basketball at the right time. And they rebound the hell out of that ball. I mean, they had a total of 40 rebounds. It was an incredible, and they came out as bad as you can come out. They couldn't hit nothing. I think they were down like 15-3 at one point. They could not hit anything to save their lives. And I was thinking to myself watching the game, yep, that's what's gonna happen when you're playing a top tier team. A lot of things that was falling when you played. Who'd they play? When they played, who's the team that just beat Purdue? Played FDU. That's not gonna fall. But I was wrong. They came out and they started letting it go the second half. And once they started hitting, what I like about what I feel you see with these, lower seed teams like the 9th seed, the FDU, Florida Atlantic is you're seeing you have to coach more because you're not getting top tier talent. And don't get me wrong, these are really good players, but you're not getting the players that go to Alabama. You're not getting the players that go to North Carolina. You're not getting the players that go to Tennessee. So you have to coach better. You have to get the players to buy in. You have to be able to maneuver and cover up your deficiencies. And Florida Atlantic. What am I doing? Florida Atlantic. What in God's name? Florida Atlantic. Shouts out to y'all for making it to the Elite Eight. Your first Elite Eight in school history. And for Tennessee, I think that the Tennessee that we got against Duke, that was hitting everything and that was playing. We know that Tennessee is a physical team. They've been a physical team all year. They're one of the most physical teams, and you knew that that was what they were gonna bring. You knew that that's what they were gonna have when they play anybody. They're gonna bring a level of physicality that you're not really used to. But Tennessee was hitting everything against Duke. Like, what's his name? Oliver Kahuma. I know I said your name wrong, bro. I apologize. But against Duke, he had 27 points. He averages 11 points a game. That just goes to show they were hitting everything they put up. And I think it gave us a false sense of reality about Tennessee. And it allowed us to forget that Tennessee, while yes, defensively they're incredible, offensively they've struggled all year. And it wasn't their defense that lost this game. It was their offense. As a team, they shot 6 for 23 from 3. Now, yes, Florida Atlantic, they didn't do any better. They were pretty much 8 for 27, but they shot 26% from 3. They shot 7 for 12 from free throw, which is 58%. They shot 21 for 63 for 33%. Again, they were getting turnovers. Florida Atlantic, they had 12 turnovers. But the problem is, if those turnovers aren't producing if you're not scoring off those turnovers, it doesn't really matter. I think that you saw the real Tennessee in the Sweet 16 against Florida Atlantic. While yes, they physically are better than Florida Atlantic, while they, have bigger players or they're stronger, they're not that good of an offensive team. And Florida Atlantic, while their numbers don't say it, they are a really good offensive team. In fact, all they do is shoot threes. That's on the scouting report. If you lose to Florida Atlantic, that means that they shot 27 threes. And what I think Tennessee tried to do is they tried to, once they realized their shot wasn't falling, because after that initial 15-3 run, or they went up double digits. After that, the shots just weren't falling. And I think that they were trying to match 3 for 3, and that just it's not going to work if you're not a good 3-point shooter or not a good 3-point shooting team. So I think it was such a special game let me say this. The amount of big shots they hit against Duke was more of an outlier than it is. Or I think the real Tennessee is what we saw against Florida Atlantic. And when your offense, while Tennessee is an incredible defensive team and a physical defensive team, a lot of times their offense or lack thereof affects their defense, and that's kind of what we saw. They couldn't get anything. And Florida Atlantic is now in the Elite Eight, first Elite Eight in school history. So shouts out to you guys. And then, oh boy. You know what's funny? UConn destroyed Arkansas 88-65. You don't really see a lot of blowouts like that in Sweet 16 and stuff. And honestly, and I'm not really, I know, the score is the score. But this score is not indicative of how good Arkansas has been. I think this score is more indicative of how good UConn is. You see, homie from Arkansas that was crying after their game against I forgot who it was. Arkansas has had a plethora of up and downs this entire year. But one thing that we know about Arkansas is they are able to come back with the best of them. They have a bunch of comeback wins this entire season, and they have the, bend, don't break mentality, which is what you're supposed to have. I think it was Dante Davis. Dante Davis is the one that was crying at the end of or showing emotion at the end of the game. Arkansas did go through a bunch of up and downs. I'm not gonna lie to you. But the thing about Arkansas is they have the Mitchell brothers that could possibly go to the NBA. They're good. They are not 23 points. They're not 23 points worse than UConn. It just was not their day. I mean, if you look, they hit 9 for 6 or 5 for 16 threes. They hit 5 threes. They shot 31.7% from the field and had 10 turnovers. Now, UConn had 17 turnovers, but again, it goes back to this. To me, Arkansas is better than losing by 23 to UConn. However, the UConn that we saw against Arkansas is the reason why a lot of people have UConn winning the national championship. UConn's best player didn't even end up with the most points. Sanago he finished with 18 points. But look, Jordan Hawkins was going crazy too. Jordan Hawkins had 24? Who said it? I talked about this last episode, but shouts out to LaFonso Ellis. LaFonso Ellis said it best in the tournament. Guard play is where is pretty important. While your best player doesn't have to be a guard, your worst player can't be a guard. And when you're seeing like Marquise Noel, or you're seeing Johnson, you're seeing Jordan Hawkins, they're the ones that can win you games. And I'm not saying that they have to be the best players, but they can't be your worst. Again, UConn can beat you in so many different ways. That's why, they're huge. UConn is a huge team. They're also an they shot 57%. 57% from the field as a team. You understand how difficult that is? They were getting they were running and what's crazy is, if you look at their stats, again, they had 17 turnovers. Usually a team that is -7 in the turnover category usually doesn't win by 23 points. This UConn team is built to win. And this is, when we talk about Alabama right now, who I think is the best team, I think that there's only 2 teams that can really beat Alabama that's still remaining in this tournament. And actually, there was one. There was 2 teams. There's 3 teams. One of them is gone, and that is Tennessee, because of how physical they play. I think that Houston, because of Marcus Sasser and because they just run and gun. And then UConn can beat any team in multiple ways. I understand they had a rough patch in the middle of the season. I think they lost like 6 straight. But UConn is tough. And it's going to be, there's a stat thing going around that, back in 2004, UConn, both men's and women's won. And then I think it was 2014, UConn's men's and women's won. It would be very interesting if this year UConn men's and women, I don't think it's going to happen, because on the women's side, I don't think UConn's going to win. UConn is tough. I watched that and I was just they got up on Arkansas so fast. It wasn't even like it. You look up, they're up 10 quickly. They're up 10. I'm like, oh, UConn came to play. It was, but that was, again, there's the games tonight, or the games that, tonight is going on. I haven't seen it yet. Alabama and San Diego State. I have Alabama winning that. Houston and Miami. I have Houston winning that. And Texas and Xavier. Texas has not been impressing me as much as I would like them, as much as I thought they would. Remember, I have Texas in the Final Four. But I think they're going to beat Xavier. So those who I have winning tonight, I guess we'll talk about it next episode. But let's move forward. There's a conversation going around that I kind of want to address. Actually, I've been asked to address, not told. And that is this LeBron James argument that's going around. Mario Chalmers, I think, sparked it when he pretty much came out and said that nobody fears LeBron James. And, of course, he was hearkening back to the era, like the Michael Jordan era, where people feared Michael Jordan. And, which is true. People did fear Michael Jordan. And I also think there's truth to not too many people fear LeBron James. Like, I think there is truth in that. However, let me just read something off to you real quick. In an era where nobody feared LeBron James, LeBron James is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. He's a 4-time NBA champion, 4-time NBA or 4-time Finals MVP, 4-time Most Valuable Player, 19-time All-Star, 3-time All-Star Game MVP, 13-time All-NBA First Team, 3-time All-NBA Second Team, 2-time All-NBA Third Team, 5-time All-Defensive First Team. He was a Rookie of the Year, and he's also on the NBA 75th anniversary team. He also, might I add, went to the NBA Finals, I think, 8 straight years. I think that there is true that, because people are making so much money, because people are so accessible, LeBron James makes himself so accessible via social media. You see what his sons are doing. You see what his wife is doing. You see what his daughter's doing. You see what he's doing. Because of social media and because you feel more connected to these people. That's why I think that they don't fear LeBron James. I think there's a difference between fear and respect. I think that while, yes, LeBron or Michael Jordan was feared and respected, I don't think that they fear LeBron James, but you understand who you're dealing with. Hell, you even heard Andre Iguodala. Shouts out to Shannon Sharp and Club Shay Shay, his podcast platform. You heard Andre Iguodala. If they didn't form, if KD never went to Golden State, LeBron James probably would have never lost to Golden State again in the finals. Again, you're talking about a man that went to 8 straight NBA finals. I don't care who you think is the best player of all time. It's if that's how you feel, how you feel, it's your opinion. I don't care. You can think LeBron James is the worst player of all time. Cool. But one thing that you cannot deny is numbers. And it doesn't matter who respected who or who feared who. Like, people feared a lot of people. I'm sure Shaq was feared a lot, and Shaq was probably the most dominant player, one of the most dominant players of all time. But okay, I'm almost sure people feared Charles Barkley. He was throwing people through windows. He ain't got no championships. Again, while people probably don't fear LeBron James, they respect the hell out of LeBron James. And they understand that we're looking at something we've never seen. And we're looking at a player that and I also don't. I think there was fear early on, which is why you saw a lot of people try to go away from the East when he was playing with, the Heat, or when he was playing with Cleveland. You saw a lot of people migrate to the West because they felt it was an easier route to get to the finals. I mean, I'm not going to say hating. I don't know what it is. I do actually no, because it's there. I don't think people did not fear LeBron James as much as they feared Michael Jordan. That is truth. But you understand what you're dealing with. Like, what you know greatness when you see it. And that is what LeBron James is. So you can fear him if you want to or not, but he's still a 4-time champion. He's still a 4-time Finals MVP. He's still the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. So I don't care what you fear. That is the facts. Let's move forward. You're hearing as we know, in the pursuit of Kevin Durant, the Celtics were one of the teams that Kevin Durant, I believe, was interested in, and I was interested in Kevin Durant. And in order to get Kevin Durant, Jaylen Brown would have been probably one of the casualties as far as in the trade. He would have had to have been traded. Of course, Jaylen Brown heard that. And as a player, again, I told you this, professional athletes, everyone, but it was professional athletes in particular, have huge egos. And once you saw that with Kyrie Irving. You saw that with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving and LeBron James was smooth sailing. In Cleveland, they did just lose an NBA Finals, but, we're going to be back. Kyrie Irving was playing his best basketball he ever played alongside LeBron James. And then, boom, you heard Kyrie Irving's name in a trade talk for Chris Paul. And everything just went downhill from there. and when I mean went downhill, I mean Kyrie in Cleveland. So now I think Jaylen Brown is saying, I don't know what the future holds between me and Boston. If I'll reevaluate when it's time to reevaluate. Usually when you hear that means he's gone. I think Jaylen Brown is a clear number 2 as far as on the Celtics. I don't know. I guess he could be since how much he scores, but I don't know if Jaylen Brown can be a number 1 on a championship winning team or I don't think he can be number 1 and the team is a championship caliber team, but he is the perfect number. Well, not the perfect, but he is a number 2 to Jason Tatum. Nobody would think that Jason Tatum is the Boston Celtics best player. But I also think the Boston Celtics would be insane giving up or losing Jaylen Brown and not getting someone like if you have to lose Jaylen Brown to get KD, I get that. Like, cool, it's Kevin Durant. Like, come on now. But I think that Jaylen Brown, I understand his frustration. Like, nobody wants to be in trade talks. I get it. But also, it's the league, bro. Like, I say this all the time. I kind of go back to Damian Lillard with the whole loyalty thing. A team is always going to do what's best for them. I understand you think Steph Curry is untouchable. I put money. Of course, it's never going to happen, so let me not say that. I will say this. If the Boston Celtics called Golden State right now and said, we will give you Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and a whole bunch of draft picks for Steph Curry, how much you want to bet Steph Curry is wearing a freaking a green jersey by the end of the day? What I'm saying is a team is always going to do what's best for them. Kevin Durant was traded. Kyrie Irving was traded. Allen Iverson was traded. It happens. Now, I also understand if Jaylen Brown says, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't feel, maybe there was respect lost in that whole trade situation, which I completely understand. Then we'll see. But I think Jaylen Brown is a really good player. I think he's a great player. I just don't think he'll be the best. I don't think he can be the best player on a championship team. I think he can be very important. Like, Jaylen Brown was the best Celtic in the NBA Finals last year. Jason Tatum didn't play too well. But we saw who won the finals last year. So we'll just have to see what happens with the Jaylen Brown thing. I do think the Celtics are still one of the best teams in the league. And I think, we'll see how it goes. I wanted to shout out Shohei Ohtani. Japan beat the United States in the WBC championship, and Shohei Ohtani was named the most valuable player. Something was very clear and evident to me. Now, you could argue, there's always been, I think it's clear. I understand that, Aaron Judge wasn't there. And of course, you have other players from other nationalities wasn't playing. Shohei Ohtani is the best player in baseball. You were playing against people like Mike Trout, who a lot of people thought or think is the best player in baseball. He just doesn't win that much because his team's not good. You were playing against Mookie Betts, who a lot of people think is one of, if not the best player in baseball. You were playing again. In fact, let me pull up again that Team USA team. You were playing against Pete Alonso, Tim Anderson, Paul Goldschmidt. You were playing against the top Kyle Schwarber, Adam Wainwright. You were playing against now, yes, I understand Aaron Judge was not there, but you were playing against the top tier talent in the United States, or against the United States. And Shohei Ohtani was the best player. He looked like he was the best player, like above and beyond. Again, once you see something, sometimes it's not, you don't have to question it. It is what it is. Now, yes, you can argue who the best player is in the world. Cool. It could be Mike Trout. It could be Shohei. Hell, it could be Carlos Cabrera. But I think when you step up to the plate and to win the WBC championship, you have to strike out Mike Trout, and you throw two straight 100-mile-an-hour fastballs and then a 87-mile-an-hour curveball to end the game. And on top of that, not only does he pitch, he's one of the best hitters in baseball. Shohei Ohtani, in my opinion, is the best player in baseball. And I'm not going to say that the WBC championship proved it. I'll say that it solidified it for me. I understand I'm going to have a bunch of people in my comments saying how wrong I am. I don't care. I think that Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player in the world. And it just so happens that he is from Japan. And shouts out to Japan for winning the WBC championship over the United States. So, I also wanted to shout out Alex Ovechkin. Every single time he does something, I'm going to shout him out because I'm from the DMV area. And Alex Ovechkin is that. He recorded his 13th career 40-goal season, passing Wayne Gretzky, the great one. Look, on one hand, actually no, let me just say it like this. I've never seen a team collectively try to help one player do something. Like, let me not say. I've never seen a team as a whole collectively do everything in their power to help one player get a record. And it feels like that is what the Capitals are doing. The Capitals are trying everything in their power to get Alex Ovechkin that elusive title with most goals ever. I think he's third right now. They are trying their hardest, and I appreciate it. Because it's like, I don't think they're out of it, but I don't think the Capitals are. I don't think there's any shot that they're going to win a Stanley Cup this year. And I really don't know about. Maybe next year we have a better shot. But one thing that I do know is the Capitals are trying their hardest to get Alex Ovechkin that title of most goals in NHL history. From the moves that they're making in free agency to how many times they try to set him up, it's incredible. And of course, Alex Ovechkin will go down as one of the greatest hockey players of all time. So shouts out to him for recording his 13th 40-goal season. He will go down as one of the greatest hockey players of all time. And the Capitals are trying their hardest to get him the most goals in NHL history. They're trying their hardest, and I can appreciate it. And lastly, before we go, I wanted to, again, every single episode in March, I am highlighting a woman in sports. And just so I happen to be African American, because that's what I want to do. I talked about Dawn Staley last episode. In this episode, I'm talking about Blake Alexis Bolden. For people, I didn't know who she was until I looked her up. Blake Alexis Bolden is the first African American woman to play or compete in the Women's Hockey League, which was the NWHL, which is now called the Premier Hockey League. I'm just being real with you. And you hear in sometimes. All right, how am I going to say it? I'll just say it. And I'm not trying to be racial or anything, racist or anything, but you hear a lot when we hear about hockey, when they talk about hockey, what you hear is that is a white person sport. You know, you don't see a lot of people dominating in hockey. You don't see a lot of black people in hockey. Now, yes, I know that there has been black people in hockey, like PK. PK was a black person in hockey, and he did really well. But you don't see a lot of African American hockey, especially in women's hockey. So the fact that, and on top of that, hockey is a welcoming sport, but it's not the easiest sport to grasp. I mean, you're essentially doing everything on skates. And the fact that Blake Alexis Bolden was able, I mean, she's now currently a scout for the LA Kings. She, shouts out to her. She did something that, and this show is recent. This happened in 2015. In 2015, she became the first African American player to compete in the National Women's Hockey League. 2015, 12 years ago. Shouts out to you. Shouts out to her. And there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve joggers, links in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to if you're listening. Please subscribe to if you're watching. It definitely means a lot to me. I'm getting a lot of comments and buzz on the Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. I appreciate all you guys. Just keep the comments respectful, please. But I do appreciate you guys. And until next time, much love.